Welcome to week one of DCM 6170, Social Media Strategies. Now, this week sets the foundation for the rest of the course. We begin with a topic that shapes everything we understand about today's digital communication ecosystem. That is through looking at the history of digital transformation of the media. Before we can develop effective social media strategies, it is important to understand how digital technologies have disrupted traditional media, reshaped business models, and changed the way audiences consume and participate in information. Now, this historic perspective helps us appreciate why today's media environment looks the way it does. It also helps us understand what it means for strategy, content, and sustainability of the media going forward. Welcome again, and thank you for joining me today. It is always a pleasure to explore the world of the media together, especially at a time when everything around us, how we communicate, how we access information, and how we participate in public life is changing so rapidly. Today, we are going to go through the journey of the history of digital transformation in media to make sense of how we arrived at the fast-paced, digital-first environment we live in today. Now, let's start with a simple reflection. Think about how you consume the news or entertainment today compared to how it was consumed 15 to 20 years ago. Chances are it is completely different from how you consume it today. Now, this shift in audience behavior is at the heart of digital transformation. As people change their habits, the media industry has had to evolve, sometimes willingly, sometimes reluctantly. The story behind the late 1990s and the early 2000s, when the internet first entered mainstream life, becomes the starting point. Traditional media organizations, newspapers, radio stations, and TV broadcasters found themselves facing a new frontier. Information was no longer limited by geography or printing cycles. It was instant, global, and interactive. Many newsrooms weren't sure what this meant for their future, but they recognized something very powerful. The internet offered them the ability to reach audiences far beyond their physical borders. And for the first time, they could engage directly with the reader in real time. That alone sparked the one major wave of digital adoption. In the mid-2000s, online advertising became the first or the next big thing. As more people moved online, advertisers shifted their budgets to digital platforms, and media houses followed suit. For a brief moment, it seemed like online advertising might replace traditional, relevant revenue streams. But then the digital giants, Google, Facebook, and others, stepped into the picture. They offered advertisers unprecedented targeting, power, and reach. Very quickly, they captured a huge share of the advertising market, leaving media organizations to compete with not just with each other, but with the massive tech platforms that specialized in capturing and monetizing attention. And just as media companies were adjusting to the reality, social media took the world by storm. Platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube did not just attract audiences, they became the new public square. People are not just consuming content, they were creating, sharing, commenting, and debating in what we call they became prosumers. Social media became the first place where many people turned to for news. That shift changed everything. Traditional media found that the traffic, revenue, and visibility were now controlled by algorithms they didn't design and could not fully predict. By the year 2010, the impact of media profitability was clear. Audiences expected free content. Digital competitors multiplied. These included influencers, bloggers, podcasters, and niche platforms that entered the scene. Now, legacy media news houses experienced shrinking revenue and rising operational challenges. Many organizations were forced to cut staff, reduce investigative budgets, and rethink their entire business strategy in order to survive. And when financial pressures increased, content inevitably reflected it's the same pattern too. We started seeing an uptick of clickbait headlines, stories designed to attract attention instead of providing depth. Investigative journalism, which is expensive and time consuming, suffered cuts. Native advertising blurred the lines between editorial content and commercial messaging, raising questions about the independence and integrity of traditional media platforms and genres. Now, these changes affected not just the business side of media, but also the public service mission. Still, that wasn't the end of the story. In fact, it sparked a new wave of innovation. Media organizations began experimenting with new business models such as subscriptions, paywalls, memberships, and philanthropic funding. Now, these models helped build a sense of value around trustworthy content. Audiences began supporting journalism not just as consumers, but also as partners. And while these strategies did not solve every financial challenge, they offered a more stable foundation than relying solely on online advertising. Now, looking ahead, the landscape continues to evolve at such a high speed. Technologies like artificial intelligence, automation, and personalized news feeds are reshaping how information is produced and consumed. Governments are exploring new regulations around digital platforms, privacy, and misinformation. The younger generation, that is Gen Z and Gen Alpha, prefer formats that are visual, fast, interactive, and personalized. Now, to stay relevant, media organizations must continue adapting. They must innovate boldly while holding firmly to their core values of accuracy, independence, and public service. So, as we think about digital transformation, it's important to remember that this is not a single moment. It's an ongoing journey, and it is one that is still unfolding. It is a story of disruption, resilience, reinvention, and creativity. At the center is a delicate balance between ensuring media organizations can be financially sustainable while still delivering credible, high-quality journalism that informs the public and strengthens democracy. And that is the challenge and the opportunity that the media industry has today. Enjoy the rest of the course and see you next week.